today I am back with day number 15, and it is with a Christmas card that I had sent out for our family Christmas card. I made this Christmas card on Canva, and I just plopped in 3 photos of me and my daughter. My husband is not a huge fan of getting his photo taken, so I do not typically have him in the Christmas cards, which always feels a little bit strange because then I feel like people might think we're not married or something. I don't know. But I think people know pretty much that he doesn't like his photo taken, so they're not surprised when they only see photos of me and my daughter. So what I am doing is I wanted to commemorate our Christmas card this year. I typically put my Christmas card that I'm sending to everyone in my album. One, it is a great story if you don't have a photo for a particular day, but also I like to kind of show the cards and things that I send year after year. I don't know if I've always done this, but I have quite a few times with photos or with the cards that I have our photos in. If I didn't put them as an actual layout, many times I would just put all of my Christmas cards that I receive in the album so you can pull them out and look at them at any point in time. For this one, I do have this little smudge at the very top, and I wanted to cover that up. So I am cutting out, or I did cut out, a bunch of these strips that are from a 12 by 12 paper sheet. And I really like the colors. It was perfect for Christmas. And I'm just going to make this frame around the entire photo with these strips. So I just trim them out. They're about, I don't know, about a half an inch, 3/4 of an inch in width. And I'm going to overlap them like I'm showing here, adding just a little bit of art glitter glue right on the very edge of the photo. And then I will take my X-Acto knife and ruler and cut at a diagonal. So I have like mitered corners essentially. And this works really well when you have paper that the strips all match up and everything will line up really nicely because they're all the same width and it will look like a picture frame. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to show this first one here, how I cut it with the ruler and the X-Acto knife and everything, and then I will fast forward so you don't have to watch this whole process, and I'll have this photo completely framed up. I especially like this ruler. It is a metal ruler, which is great to use with an X-Acto knife, but it also has a cork backing, so it's a non-slip ruler. And this is perfect for this type of thing where you don't want your projects and things moving. And I'm just trimming it up and then pulling that piece out, and it really makes a really nice corner. It's not maybe exactly perfect, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but it does make it look really nice. And I just like how it looks more like a picture frame. And as long as you're not looking at the seams, you really don't even notice any kind of gaps or anything. So this turned out really cute. I am going to add this to this right-hand page here, which is the vintage music paper. And I'm going to tab at the very top of this photo. And what I'm going to do, because I don't really have a place to put journaling, and I do want to talk a little bit about Christmas cards and receiving Christmas cards and things like that, I'm going to make this card a pocket, and I will put a journaling card that will be tucked into the back of it that you can pull out. So I'm going to use 2 tabs. One will go here, and then the other one's going to go on the actual journaling card that will slip in inside and outside of this pocket that I'm going to make. I do ultimately end up using some liquid glue on here. These tabs and stickers were super stiff but not very sticky. So the adhesive just was not working. So I do add a little bit of liquid glue later on. You'll see that towards the end of the video. And plus, sometimes with these stickers, I just like to use a little bit extra glue, especially if they don't seem like they're going to stick very well over time because I don't want them falling out of the album. Now I am trying to decide what paper I'm going to use for a journaling card. I have this top part of this number paper and I have this Christmas tree image and I thought this would be perfect. I'm going to trim this out. I'm going to do pretty much nothing to the window page or the window side of the card, but I am going to embellish the other side. So it's pink polka dots. And that is where my journaling is going to go. So I will end up doing some decorating and journaling on this side of the card. It's approximately 4 by 6. I didn't measure it, but it does fit. I want to make sure it just was going to fit in this pocket. So I'm just kind of trying it out, making sure there's going to be enough room around all the edges for this to slip in. I don't like the pointy corners, so I am going to just lop off the very, very tips of the corners, and I just think that gives it a little bit more of a finished look. I'm going to line this up so that I can make sure the gray tab is going to go a little bit to the right of the green tab, and then I'm going to stick that down. And it ends up being like pretty much right in the center, which is kind of cool. When you pull it out, it looks a little bit more symmetrical. It's a little bit maybe to the right, but in general, it's pretty much symmetrical. I wanted to use more of these stickers. I had these stickers in my stash for quite some time. I believe I got them off of a free table at the crops I go to, and I wanted to use them up, and they're just cute, and I want to use some of the frames. So I will take this green polka dot frame, and then I'm also going to take a green snowflake circle that you'll see in a little bit. I'm going to add that. I like it kind of at an angle here. I'm going to trim off this extra corner. I like how it looks kind of like it's falling off the side. I'm going to take also a sticker from the Doodlebug sticker sheet that I have. That's one of the bigger, larger round circles. I'm going to use that in the center of this frame. It's the one with the little Christmas tree that says bright there. And I'm going to put that on some white cardstock. I wanted to have a little bit of a white border. Right now, this card is pretty dark, and I thought it'd look kind of nice with an extra white border. This is a perfect size for a 2.5-inch punch. It fits perfectly with a little bit of a border all the way around the edge without me having to fussy cut, because as much as I like fussy cutting, I'm not very good at fussy cutting circles. So this punch makes it much more easy. And I'm going to glue that down, and then I will pull the green snowflake circle off, and I'm going to basically do the same. I'm going to mount it on some white cardstock and then punch it out with one of my Stampin' Up! Hole punches or circle punches. I don't find anything else on the sheet, but it is going to be the sheet that I got the frame from. And I thought the green and the brown kind of color just went well, obviously, with the frame because it's on the same sheet. So you'll see me pulling that sheet out here in a second again. Or actually, sorry, it's a white snowflake on a green background. So I'm going to mount that on the white cardstock, pull out my punch here. It's a 1 3/8 inch, so again, perfect for a little bit of a border. I love when that happens. Glue that in the top right. I am going to go off the edge a little bit to mimic the frame that I made go off the edge, and just going to trim a little bit of it off. And I made sure that both the white background and the green part of the circle went off the edge, and so I trimmed it both. I think it would look funny if I didn't put it over far enough, so I want to make sure I got a little bit of that green over as well. So now I am going to add a little bit more embellishment to the bottom right. I want to add this candy cane, and I'm going to add, I think it's a yellow star that I'll add in the bottom left. And again, just to give it some more added texture and dimension, it felt a little bit plain and flat. So I want to add a little bit more. So checking out these papers to see if I can find a sticker that's going to go. I just want something tiny there. And I believe I pull out the Doodlebug and grab a star, but I could be wrong, but I think it's a yellow star. Yeah, it's gonna be that yellow star right there. So that journaling card is pretty much done, and you won't see it in the video, but I do have some still photos of what the journaling looks like. Here's where I decided to use some of that clear glue because you can see the stickers are not sticking, and this will make sure it doesn't come off in the long run. After this, I am going to put the adhesive around the edge of this framed Christmas card so that I can use or make it into a pocket. I will use the dry roll-on adhesive around the edge first, and then I'm going to use the liquid adhesive towards the center more. I don't like when I have things going in and out of pockets and there is this dry adhesive. It seems to tend to allow the journaling cards that go in and out to stick onto the adhesive, and the wet adhesive works a little bit better. And I thought it would be best if I did the dry adhesive because then it will just help it stick really nicely there, but then using a little bit of a liquid right around the edge so that my card doesn't stick up against the adhesive that I put down first. So I'm going to glue all that up, stick this down on the page, right pretty much smack dab in the center, and then that journaling card will slip in there. I do wait and do not put it in right away. I want to make sure this dries. Even though the art glitter glue is quick drying, I didn't want to attempt to put it in and then have it mess up. So I'm just going to wait. So I'm going to glue this Merry and Bright banner down. I did add a little liquid glue to this. The reason I did that is this vintage music paper is pretty old and it's kind of crumbly, and I didn't know how well it was going to adhere over time. So I thought the liquid adhesive would be good just to add a little bit more stability. I'm going to add the Season's Greetings strip here to the bottom. I felt like adding a little bit more pink because there's pink in the frame would be nice. And now I'm just looking through to see if there's anything else I want to add. Again, that bottom right-hand corner felt a little bit plain or boring or missing something, but ultimately I end up just not doing anything. There's something that seemed to really fit there, but so I am going to put this number 15. I'm going to actually punch it a hole into both the tab and the top of the tag here, and I'm going to add an eyelet, and I will add a little piece of black and white twine as well. So just carefully trying to get in there. I had to stick my head under there, so I kind of fast forwarded so you didn't have to see my head. And then I'm going to punch this hole, and then I will end up using one of the eyelets that I have. I believe it is a black one. Yes, a black one. You're not really going to see too much of it. I probably didn't even need to use it. But again, I was doing it, and then I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to cover this up with some twine, but it's all good. So I do smush that down so they'll be stuck together. I will tie my black and white twine up into a little bow and then add that there in the center of the eyelet. And I actually end up using a glue dot to add that on. I didn't think the liquid glue was going to work very well because it had that metal piece, and then it also has like a hole, obviously because I have the eyelet. So I do end up pulling some glue dots out of my stash and then just using a glue dot, and I think it's going to stick a lot better that way. So I tie this into a little bow. I faff with it a little bit just because sometimes this twine, when you tie bows and you pull it, it ends up twisting and the bow just looks funny. So I was playing with this for a little bit to get it so it just kind of lay right. I'm not sure it really ever laid completely right, but it's good enough. So once I get done messing with that, like I said, will stick down the bow with some of my glue dots. I thought the loops were a little too big, so I made them a little bit smaller. Again, trying to play with that twisting there. I end up using my end of my scissors to get to the glue dot because it was having some struggles. It was turning and not sticking to the twine. So just sticking that on there and smushing it in that hole. And then I'll trim off the tails because they're a little bit too long. And then that's pretty much it. I will show you how the journaling card goes into the pocket. And I will have some still photos at the end so you can see how the journaling card turned out once I put my word strips on with my journaling from my vintage typewriter. And you'll see that at the end. So thank you guys so much for joining me. This is day 15. I have not done any more layouts, but I'm hoping to get a few more done and a few more videos up. If for some reason I don't have time before I go back to work, I want to thank you guys so much for coming along with this series. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, like I said, hopefully I'll have some more and this will not be the last. I will talk to you again very soon. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.